Let's try a quick practice together. I'll give you a situation and you think about what you would say. Ready? Imagine you spent a lot of money on something that wasn't useful. How would you express that feeling? You could say, "I wish I hadn't spent so much money on that." Or, "If only I had saved that money instead." Try creating your own version in the comments. We really do read them all.
Great work, everyone. So to quickly recap this section, we've got three key structures. First, I wish I had plus past participle for things you wanted to do. Second, if only I had plus past participle for stronger, more emotional wishes. And third, I wish I hadn't plus past participle for things you wish you did not do. Keep practicing these, and they will become second nature.
Now let's build on what we just learned and move into giving advice. Specifically, advice to your younger self. This is incredibly common in English conversations. People say things like, "If I could go back, I would tell myself to," or, "The advice I'd give my younger self is." These phrases come up in interviews, in conversations with friends, in social media posts, everywhere.
The main structure here is, if I could go back, I would plus verb. For example, if I could go back, I would start exercising earlier. Or, if I could go back, I would choose a different major. Or even something simple like, if I could go back, I would worry less and enjoy more. These sentences use what we call the second conditional, and they're perfect for hypothetical, meaning imaginary, situations.
Here's a real-life example from me. If I could go back to 20, I would tell myself to invest in relationships more. Not romantic relationships specifically, but friendships, mentors, people who inspire you. I was quite independent back then, maybe a little too independent, and I didn't realize how much the people around you shape who you become.
Oh, that's so true. And here's mine. If I could go back, I would tell myself that failure is not the opposite of success. It's actually part of the process. When I was 20, I treated every mistake like it was the end of the world. But now I know that every failure taught me something I couldn't have learned any other way. Failure was actually my best teacher.
Now, there's also a more informal way to give this kind of advice, which sounds very natural in everyday English. You can say, "Looking back, I think I should have." For example, "Looking back, I think I should have been more patient with myself." Or, "Looking back, I think I should have taken that job opportunity." The phrase, "looking back," signals that you are reflecting on the past, and it makes your speech sound very thoughtful and mature.
Let's compare formal and informal versions of the same idea. In a more formal setting, like a job interview or a speech, you might say, "In retrospect, I believe I would have benefited from developing my communication skills earlier." But in a casual conversation with a friend, you'd probably just say, "Honestly, looking back, I really should have worked on how I talk to people." Same idea, totally different tone.
For practice, here's a little activity. Think of 3 pieces of advice you would give your 20-year-old self. Then, say them out loud using one of these 3 patterns. "If I could go back, I would," or, "Looking back, I think I should have," or, "I wish I had." Try to use all 3 patterns for your 3 pieces of advice. Write them down in the comments. We would love to see them.
Let's review the key expressions from this section. First, If I could go back, I would, for imagining what you'd do differently. Second, looking back, I think I should have, for thoughtful reflection. Third, you can also say, the one thing I'd tell my younger self is, which is another very natural opener. These expressions make your English sound genuine, reflective, and really fluent.
Let's now talk about how we share life lessons in English, because this is where the conversation gets really rich and interesting. When people share what they've learned, they often use expressions like, "The biggest lesson I've learned is," or "One thing I know for sure now is," or "I've come to realize that." These phrases signal wisdom, experience, and honest reflection.
Yes, and the great thing is that these expressions work in so many different situations. Imagine you're having coffee with a friend, or you're giving a short speech, or you're writing in your journal in English. All of these phrases fit naturally. For example, I've come to realize that time is your most valuable resource. Or, one thing I know for sure now is that your mindset shapes everything.
Here's one of my favorite life lessons to share, and I use this expression a lot. What I've learned is that consistency beats talent almost every time. You know, when I was 20, I admired people who were naturally talented, and I sometimes felt discouraged because I didn't think I was talented enough. But over time, I realized that showing up every single day, even when you don't feel like it, is so much more powerful than natural ability.
That is such an important lesson. And here's one from me. I've come to realize that your health is your wealth. I know that sounds like a cliché, but when you're 20, you feel invincible. You stay up all night, you eat badly, you skip exercise. And then one day you feel the consequences, and you think, oh, I really wish I had taken better care of myself earlier. Your body is the only one you get.
Now let's talk about tone and delivery, because how you say these things matters. When you're sharing a life lesson, your voice should be warm and genuine, not preachy, not like you're lecturing someone. A great way to sound natural is to start with a personal story before you share the lesson. So instead of just saying, "You should save money," you say, "When I was young, I spent everything I earned, and then I hit a hard patch and had nothing to fall back on. That taught me that even saving a small amount each month makes a huge difference."
Exactly. The personal story makes people listen. It makes them feel connected to you. And in English, we often soften advice or lessons with phrases like, "in my experience," or "for me personally," or "I'm not saying it's the same for everyone, but..." These little phrases make you sound humble and relatable rather than arrogant or bossy.
Let's do a quick mini practice. I'm going to share a life lesson using our structure, and I want you to respond in your head. Do you agree? Does it apply to your life too? Here's mine. I've come to realize that learning never stops, and the people who thrive are the ones who stay curious. What do you think? Does that resonate with you? Share your thoughts in the comments.
And here's one more important tip. Don't be afraid to share your own wisdom and lessons in English. Many learners feel confident talking about facts or describing things, but they freeze when it comes to expressing opinions and personal experiences. Remember, your experiences are unique and valuable, and expressing them in English is one of the best ways to make your language feel truly yours. Speak out loud, practice these phrases, and make them your own.
Okay, it's time for one of our favorite parts of every episode, common mistakes. And I'll be honest with you, I've made every single one of these mistakes myself at some point, so don't feel embarrassed if you recognize them. We've all been there, and knowing about them is the first step to fixing them.
The first very common mistake is confusing "I wish I had" with "I hope." These two are very different. "I hope" is for the future. It means you want something to happen. "I wish I had" is for the past. It means you regret that something didn't happen. So saying, "I hope I had studied harder" is incorrect. The right sentence is, "I wish I had studied harder." And for the future, you'd say, "I hope I study harder from now on." Keep these separate in your mind.
The second mistake is using would have instead of had after I wish. For example, some learners say, "I wish I would have been more careful," but this is not standard in English. The correct form is, "I wish I had been more careful." It might sound small, but native speakers will notice this one, so it's really worth practicing the correct form until it feels automatic.
Here's the incorrect version. "I wish I would have listened to my teacher." And here's the correct version. "I wish I had listened to my teacher." Say that correct version out loud right now. "I wish I had listened." Great. The more you practice it correctly, the more natural it will sound when you need it in real conversation.
The third mistake is forgetting to change the verb to past participle form. Some learners say, "I wish I had start earlier," but start needs to become started. So it should be, "I wish I had started earlier." This is a grammar rule, but it's also about how the sentence sounds. "I wish I had start" just doesn't sound right to a native speaker's ear. The past participle is essential here.
And the fourth mistake, this one is more about style than pure grammar. A lot of learners say things like, "If I was young again, I will do things different." There are actually two errors in that sentence. First, will should be would, because this is a hypothetical, an imaginary situation. Second, different should be differently, because we need an adverb here. The correct sentence is, "If I were young again, I would do things differently." Much better.